Welcome to yet another episode of HVACR Verse. I'm your host, Kevin Stiles. As usual, it doesn't change unless I go on the ground. So, anybody can notice, background's a little different. My wife and I spent the past couple days redoing this area. We thought he'd make it a little bit nicer, a little bit more fun, not so confined. Give some workspace areas so I can have some product demos and stuff of a table. I have a video of like the step-by-step process of when we did this. We started this Saturday morning. It's currently Sunday evening, 8 o'clock. And from the time of Saturday morning till about maybe a couple hours ago, we had everything rolling from taking stuff off the walls and priming and painting. I ran some power to a new outlet because I wanted to put things in this corner over here. And I'll be putting a video out of how all that shook. It looks a little bit different. I think it looks a lot nicer, and it's a bigger area for me to work in and do some more fun things with it. But without further ado, I will let you guys kind of get a feel of what it looks like. So there's going to be more of these 4K cameras. I don't know if I'm going to run them in 4K. I might keep them at 1080p because even with having the nicer computer and the nice graphics card and everything, running the 4K just takes so much bandwidth on the internet to do it. But we're going to be using this camera. I have another 4K camera we're going to be using. I'm going to have a camera set up in that table back there. So there'll be this table back here. I'm going to have a table off to the side over here with another camera. We can do working on things like that. But let me just give you guys a spin around the room and show you what it looks like right now. We got a couple more things we're still working on. I'll speak up so you guys can hear me on the microphone. I ran power to over here, didn't have power, and that's kind of why I never set up here in the first place. But now we have power here. I ran it to here so I can put this desk over here and give a little more room on this desk. So we did this wall over here, made it look a little bit more appealing. And then over here, we all know we already had the mini split that I installed for in here. Spent a little bit of time. I'm actually in the process of running that outlet to down there. I already ran a box. I just haven't pulled the wire through yet, so that way the cord's not sticking up there. Still got the handy dandy refrigerator. No beer, sorry guys. I'm going to have a 4K camera that possibly to do 4K. That's going to be over here on this table. And then I'll have another camera set up right here with another table to do other stuff. But yeah, that's the gist of what we did over the past couple days in here. And I will be getting like a nice little soft chair for someone to sit down. The microphone set up for the other person right there. That's why I want to move that power to down right there and make things a little bit nicer. I personally think it looks nice, like old Greg would prove. For those who've never seen it, look up old Greg. I'm old Greg. But yeah, that's what we worked on for the past couple days since I had a nice little 3-day weekend. To my techs that are watching this and did call me over the weekend, and I was short with you because I don't have half an hour 17 times a day to give away. Sorry, I apologize. I can't help with every single dilemma you have in life. But with that being said, I want to talk about inverter systems. I've worked on 3 types of inverter systems. One being Carrier, their Infinity. 2 being Train, their XV. I have, let's take it back because we're going to technically say 4 now because American Standard is not Train. It's American Standard. American Standard is Train, but I've worked on American Standard's version of the XVs, and I have only gotten to touch one inverter York system. I have yet to see an inverter Lennox system out here in Arizona. Supposedly there's an inverter Goodman system. Haven't seen it yet. I'm afraid to see when that rolls out, or if we start seeing it, what we're going to find in there. And I'm not going to say any of these systems are the best. I will say I think that Train's XV18 and their XV20 and even their XV17s that they have out now, which is like 75 different comfort levels. I still laugh about that. 545 comfort levels or 745 comfort levels. It makes me laugh. Just say it's a variable capacity system. Don't try and sound too fancy. But my brother-in-law, we installed the first XV17 that this state has ever had installed in his house. He loves it. He says it's great. That's like their entry level into the inverter systems. That one's only 74 speeds. But hey, I think it's pretty cool. I don't think inverter systems are for everyone because inverter systems tend to, it sounds great on paper, but nobody's ever prepared for when that warranty is up, or if they move into a house and they don't register that they've purchased the equipment from the other homeowner. Oh God, just prepare for it. I want to show you a couple of these drives and let you see what I'm talking about. So here we got a nice little Infinity from a Carrier inverter. And let me tell you, this thing right now is just a $5,300 paperweight. I don't know what makes this worth $5,300 because even the Train and American Standard inverters don't even come close to that. The most expensive I've seen this go for is like $6,700, but from the Carrier dealer here in the Valley, it was $5,300 to replace this. Customer purchased a home, didn't let Carrier know, didn't transfer over the warranty. So customers, if you have a really nice piece of equipment and it's still under manufacturer warranty, make sure you register, get on with the homeowner that you're purchasing from, and get it registered. Because this thing is expensive. It was a $7,000 replacement. Hunting this down, getting it replaced, getting it installed, doing everything, it was about $7,000 to do all this. And yes, it cost $5,300 just to purchase this. So this essentially was just a giant paperweight, and they're cool, but for all intents and purposes, there's more than just this on the Infinity and Bryant systems, the Evolutions. This is just the inverter portion. Then they have the communicating board, which is talking to this. Now versus the Train and American Standard, everything's all on one board. For example, this is a Train drive. And this is everything. This is minus what they call the CDA, which is the customer display. This is everything. This is the drive. This is the controller. The fan motor goes to this. Everything. And this, at most, is like $1,100. I think like the most expensive one that we've had to purchase was $1,100. That's insane. So $1,100 to purchase this, and it does the same thing as this hunk of metal. That's crazy, guys. So be careful when you're diagnosing these. There's a few differences in it. I'm not sure like how everything works on there. I know that this one for the Carrier and Evolution has this giant heat sink on the back that protrudes into the unit that supposedly cools the drive down. Meanwhile, the Train and American Standard inverter systems have this little section right here that the liquid line goes through and absorbs the heat. That's what the heat paste is for, and it clamps on there to act as a heat sink to absorb the heat out of the system. So, yeah, kind of big expensive paperweights. So, try to be careful messing around with this stuff, but I'm like the biggest thing I see on the inverter systems that cause failure with the drives. The number one problem I've seen on drive failures for like the carriers or the trains or XVs. Once again, I haven't worked on much other. I have touched one York. They're slick, but they made them slick because I think you have to work on them so much. They're pretty cool. I didn't have to work on it. I got to look at it and mess with it, but other than that, I don't see too many York products out here. But the number one failure that I've seen on these drives with the Bryant, the carrier, the train, or the American Standards is customers will try to do their own maintenance or clean their own coils like they have on their previous equipment, and they somehow get water into these drives and it's done. Now, sometimes you can work with the dealer and get them to warranty out for water damage and stuff. But hopefully the unit's under warranty, especially if you have a Bryant or a carrier. Dude, I'm telling you, I about hit the floor when this customer had to replace this drive. And the carrier dealer out here goes, yeah, that's $5,300. I was like, that can't be possible. I started doing a bunch of research. I started calling other vendors that deal in carrier or Bryant products, and they were even more than my carrier dealer. So I was kind of blown away on that, guys. So like I said, the trains and the XV, like the XVs and the American Standards, I haven't had too much like, oh man, that's a lot of money for a drive. I just think $5,000 for a drive on an air conditioner is a little excessive, especially since you can go buy like an ABB drive that can do a 15 horsepower motor for less than $5,000. That seems a little extensive in my opinion. But needless to say, be careful when you're selling these to these customers and explain, hey, this is not something you want to play with or try and do your own maintenance on. There ain't no capacitors in here. Well, there are, but not the kind that you're going to be changing. They're secured to those boards. But what these inverter systems are doing is they're converting single phase power into three phase power. I'm just really curious on like if anyone's worked on the Goodman inverter system, if anyone's worked on the Lennox inverter system, has anybody worked on the York inverter systems? I've seen a lot of York back east, but out here in Arizona, you run across the York unit probably in the residential market once or twice, maybe every few months. Other than that, you don't see too much York out here except for on commercial buildings. Then you'll see some York unit, but even then, here in Arizona, it's mostly Carrier, Bryant, or ICP, or Train, or American Standard package units that you see for commercial buildings. You don't come across too much York or Goodman or Lennox for commercial package units out here. But we do have a lot of Lennox out here, but it's not their signature series or their inverter systems. It's usually like maybe their 2-stage or their single stage basic bottom barrel builder grade stuff. And we have a lot of Goodman out here, but I have yet to see a Goodman inverter system. I've seen Goodman's communicating system. It's their proprietary garbage, but it's just a 2-stage system with a board, and they call it a communicating system. I'm just curious what everybody sees as far as inverter systems out there. We did have a rash this past summer. I don't know if anybody is familiar with the XV19s, but every single XV19 that we install, which is Train Side Draft 19 SEER inverter system, we pretty much had a problem with. I don't think that I've had one yet that hasn't had a problem that we've installed in the past year and a half. This summer just was brutal. But I'm curious Like, I really want to know. I want some feedback. What kind of inverter systems are people seeing out there? I don't see too many I actually haven't seen a Lennox out here in Arizona. I haven't seen a Goodman inverter system. The only thing I've ran into across here in Arizona is either the Infinity from Carrier or the American Standard inverter system or the Train XV inverter systems. Those are the only ones that I've really seen out here. Doesn't mean that people haven't installed them. I just haven't seen them. So that's what I'm curious about. I just wanted to show off the new studio. Maybe someone can break it down for me. What's the better inverter system? I personally think that they're good. It's old technology, but we're trying to condense it and put it into a house. This stuff's been in the commercial market for a long time as far as VF variable frequency drives go. It's taking single phase and converting it into simulated three-phase DC. It is essentially an ECM motor for the compressor. That's an ECM module for the compressor is what it breaks down to, in my personal opinion. They are three-phase compressors on those inverter systems. I'm just curious what everybody's seeing. I really, I had someone that was planned to come in and sit down, but they kind of bailed out on me, so that kind of put a kibosh on it. And then I decided, you know what? I'm going to change up the way the studio looks, and here we are. I wanted to show it off, and hopefully it starts making things feel a little bit better. And I actually am going to be starting, I think it's a Patreon account for some kind of help to get some funds going, do some things, purchase some stuff, do some demos. But other than that, everybody, I hope you're having a good end of the summer. We're about to pick up here in Arizona again. We kind of tapered off and we went down to the 90s. And it looks like next week we're back in the 110s. So happy HVACing, everyone. If you like this video or any of the other videos, hit that like button, subscribe, leave a comment, and as usual, happy HVACing.